B-boy. From the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East coast to the west, B-boys worldwide. We supposed to be blessed, still a B-boy. From the old to the new.
This week, we're talking with an amazing female MC. She's been taking the industry by storm and is crazy talented on the mic, making music that I think will be timeless and hold up for decades. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight, Whitney Peyton. What's up?
Hey, I like that intro, man. Anytime I need to hype myself up, I should just replay that.
So do you remember the first time you heard hip hop?
Yeah, you know what? The first hip hop song I remember hearing was Jay-Z's Hard Knock Life, where he sampled. So it was not only the first probably hip hop song, maybe there was something, I probably heard rap before that, but one that was memorable that stuck with me. So not only was it the first hip hop song, but it used samples too, which is another art of hip hop, kind of flipping another song and the remix. So
who were some of your favorite artists as a kid? Who did you really gravitate towards?
Let's see, Eminem, Eve, TLC. I would say, man, there's so many. I would say what really got me though was seeing the music videos as well, because I think the early 2000s, in my opinion, had the best music videos, had the best visuals, because they were just thought out. We had different attention spans at that point where we would sit and watch the entire music video. So Missy Elliott, I think, had some of the best music videos, period. I think Ludacris had some great music videos. So I think not just the artists themselves as MCs and sonically, it was also about what they bought visually for me, because I think that's an important part of entertainment as well. I think that's what makes truly the difference between an MC and a rapper. To me, rappers, okay, they can just spit, they're just spitters. A full MC is an entertainer, in my opinion.
Storyteller.
Yeah, storyteller, just commanding, crowd control, all that.
So at what age did you start thinking, maybe I can do this? Were you writing first? How did that all come about?
Yeah, I grew up right outside of Philly, and that's so I was going right into downtown and taking trains in there and stuff. I was doing spoken word before I started rapping. So I would say I was doing spoken word poetry, and there were so many poetry slams. That was a big thing over there. It's very artsy in Philadelphia. It's a version in New York City, but I think more avant-garde in some ways. So I was doing slam poetry almost first, and then I was seeing these visuals and these music videos, and I was like, well, this isn't a far cry to what I'm doing, to step from spoken word to that. So that's kind of what got me into it. And I would say I was a preteen, starting to dabble in trying to find beats online that I was, had all these tags in it, and I'm just rapping over it, or I'm just finding songs that had long intros or outros, and I'm just trying to loop those and rap on it, stuff like that. And it was I probably went into it too confident, because I was like, yeah, I already do this. I have rhyme books full of rhymes, but I hadn't written them to a beat, because I was just doing it all a cappella and doing slam poetry. So when I got so confident, went in the studio for the first time, I was put on my ass basically, because I was like, wow, writing a beat definitely is different. There's an art to that. So it took a minute to really go from just being able to take all these pauses and abstract kind of flow to actually complementing an instrumental, because you have to do that. You have to pay attention to what the instruments are doing and not do something conflicting. So there's a whole art to it that I now respect way more than when I first started.
I used to do the same thing as a kid. Now I was born in the 70s, so I'm a little bit older, but Too Short always had the best beats, because they would ride for 2 or 3 minutes after the verses. And I just take two boom boxes, and you just do it 4 times the same 30 seconds, and you got yourself a beat. So it's cool to hear other people. Oh hell yeah, man! With 2 little boom box, actually, it got even So I would make my beat, then I would play the beat in one boombox and then rap into the speaker of the second boombox that's also up against the speaker. It was very convoluted, but
Dude, it's
I was a hip
crazy
hop
how
head.
when you want to do something, how resourceful you get to
Right.
like figure it out.
And I was just a kid. I don't know if I would go to that extreme anymore just to make a tape. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, we're spoiled now though. We have
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
ways to do shit.
No doubt. I love your lyricism, and I want to kind of talk about that. I actually think, like I said, I'm a bit older, and sometimes I'm a victim of becoming the middle-aged, 80s b-boy who looks at newer artists and I'm like, oh shit, Big Daddy Kane was better than that, or Rakim was better than that. And I got to stop myself because I don't want to become that. The lyricism really shows. Did you have to really work on the lyricism part, the punchlines stuff? Or do you think that came kind of natural?
I think the lyricism was the part that came naturally, and the delivery was the part I really had to work on, because there's plenty of artists that I think are really good at what they do, at sounding just sonically good and being a vibe. But when you listen to what they're saying, it's not like they're saying anything clever or deep message. It just sounds cool and it's like a cool song and all that. I didn't really have that going for me. I was always saying, like, in my opinion, cool things. I was always had a message. I always had a point or a moral to each song. But I think it took me a while to get my flow and to find, like I said, complementing the beat more, having my delivery just be better, because at first I think it was too, I did what a lot of MCs kind of do when they're first starting, which was maybe overdo it, too many syllables somewhere, or words next to each other that don't sonically go into each other very well. Because it's not, it's about having a message, but having it flow so it seems effortless, but it's thought out. To certain words are put next to each other because they flow into each other well. So there's a lot of that I had to learn how to do. I would go back and rewrite rhymes because I'd be like, okay, this word, I like that I'm rhyming this word, but this word goes better and flows better. So I'd have to kind of sub out different words and different things and just go back and kind of edit myself. And yeah, take the time to really care and design the lines.
Well, and it shows, I guess this is the podcast when you feel bad about yourself because I'm just talking you up. But I was talking to my friend about your music, where I think it's a perfect bridge where it appeals to the old school hip hop heads like me, just the talent I respect. But also, I work with someone in their early 20s, and he's a fan of hip hop, but we don't listen to a lot of the same artists because there's a 20-year difference. But we can agree on your music. He's a big fan of yours, and
That's awesome.
I don't know if we're liking it for different reasons, but we're both liking it. So I kind of looked at it as a bridge, and that's a special thing for artists to build a bridge, two generations like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's really hit or miss with me. I'm like, either people really like it or they really hate it, and I think it's just because it's like I present in such a modern way. I'm definitely different than your average artist as far as imagery and everything like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, a lot of OGs and people who really respect the culture have given me props in the sense that it's like, hey, she's, caring about the craft and what she's saying. So even if she's not the normal person, I'm not one of the ones that obviously paved the way. I have respect for it and I have respect for the culture. And the best way I can pay respect is by, trying to have a message in everything I say, and just like, doing the best I can, having crazy visuals. I really just put a lot of work into it to try to entertain people. I'm not here to just be like to flaunt any kind of cash grab or anything like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's not what people think. People think going into entertainment, they're like, oh, I'm just gonna be rich and make all this money. It's like they don't realize how much is going into it, how much you're working, but it's worth it. It's worth it when you put out things you like. And I like that you said timeless at the beginning, because that's what I'm trying to do. I want to make songs that in 10 years from now still make sense, like are still relevant.
As a female artist, did you ever feel pressure that you needed to present yourself in a certain way You know, like the average female a rapper who uses, whether it's their body or a certain image. Did you ever feel pressure to do that?
I mean, definitely there's a lot of, label meetings or different things where they're like, oh, we think you're really talented if you just did this, or if you just did that, I think that you'd really take off, or we think that, so there's everyone's always trying to give you advice on what they think you should do. But like, there's already the Lil Kims, there's already these different artists, and it's either they're trying to tell me to be like them, or people will be the opposite and come to me and trash talk them and be like, I'm so glad you're not some like, talking bad about these artists. And I don't agree with that either. Like, some of them, that is their thing. Like, they actually like it. They're into rapping about that type of thing, whatever. As long as it's genuine and it's them, I'm cool about, whatever they rap about. If Cardi wants to make WAP, fine. There's so many male artists who have had so many sexual songs. So it's like, I'm not against it, but I also don't think that I have to do that certain thing to get any kind of attention or to pave my own way and my own lane. Cause it just, there are fans for every kind of genre and market. So I just got to find my people.
Just being a young female in society, there's pressures by what you see. So I can imagine it's magnified being in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, and it's not just the pressures, it's also the respect kind of aspect, because sometimes, especially in hip hop, I mean, it could be very sexist in a lot of ways. Anytime you see women in videos and stuff, usually they're being video girls to look hot during the guys' videos and stuff. So like, when I'm on a festival or I'm performing, sometimes I've had situations where guys kind of feel some type of way if I'm headlining over them and they have to open for me. They feel like, I don't know, less of a man. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely a flex there where they try to come up all, chest out and everything. And that's pretty lame. Most of the best male artists though have never had an issue with it. It's just kind of the ones that feel like they got, that I should be opening for them, or that I should just be in videos or just dressing hot and not be rapping or whatever. So you kind of have more situations from people in the industry sometimes just treating you like, oh yeah, you don't belong here, or you don't deserve to be on this stage, or you don't, different, or like, I don't know what I'm doing with my setting up my equipment, like, oh, you need me to turn on your mic, or do you know how to do this? Like, different sound guys kind of acting like, do you know what you're doing? And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I record a lot of my own vocals and stuff, and engineer and all that. So I know about audio, and I don't know, there's always just the assumption that we're just kind of clueless about everything.
That's too bad. So talk about winning a Grammy.
You did your research.
I did my research. So what was that for? Talk about that situation, because I've got to interview people I grew up listening to, but I don't think I've interviewed a Grammy winner.
I was on an album that won a Grammy. So technically the album won the Grammy. It was for Best Children's Album, which is really very random. I lived in, Philly at the time, and I was approached by a producer, and they're like, hey, we're putting together a children's album for Make-A-Wish Foundation. It's like a spoken word kind of album. And I was like, I think, it's cool that you guys are doing something for charity, but I'm not a children's artist. I don't want to be seen as that. I'm trying to pave my way here, and I don't want to do children's music. And they were like, hey, listen, like Rihanna, some of these biggest artists, they have versatility. They'd maybe do something for a children's album, but then go ahead, put out their solo stuff. You can curse, do whatever you want, but on this, just make something for kids. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I had no idea it was going to be submitted for a Grammy. I was just doing it because they were like, hey, it's for this charity. It was like an anti-bullying album, and I could definitely, relate to it, being that I was always doing artsy stuff in school, and I was kind of like the oddball. So I was like, okay, I'll do the spoken word album. And it ended up getting a nomination for a Grammy. It went against it was against Disney Channel, because they had the Muppet movie out at that time. So I was like,
soundtrack.
there is no way
Yeah.
we're beating Disney, because it was
Yeah.
all indie artists on this album that we put out. And we are like, this is a powerhouse. We're never going to win, but we're nominated. So we're showing up to the
Oh,
award
yeah.
show because this is fucking awesome. So we went out to LA, the Staples Center, and we were there. And they don't tell you beforehand. We didn't know. Like, the band OK Go, I don't know if you know them,
Yeah.
but yeah, they
Yeah.
announced us, and I think it took, there was like 5 or 6 of us there to go accept the award, and it took us a minute to even stand up because we were in such disbelief that we had just beaten Disney in a category. But it was crazy. And then right after that, I went on tour with 3-6 Mafia, so it was hilarious because people were searching me on Google to see
Sure.
like who they were going, like, because it would say 3-6 Mafia, and then opening it had me, and then people who weren't familiar with me were like, okay, let me Google search this girl to see what she's like. And they were just seeing children's album come up, so they were like, what does she have to do with this gangsta group? And it was so crazy. It was such weird marketing for me. It was a weird year of being like, who are you and why you're with gangster rappers and on a children's album? And but that's just kind of been my career has been all over the place, and I love it.
So the Firecracker album, especially, I'm going to focus on the Pyro edition because that's my favorite version, but that's by far my favorite version of you. Talk about the making of that, what you remember from those sessions, just kind of touch on the creation of Firecracker.
Yeah, well, that's cool because Firecracker is definitely my more rock hip hop album. I started working with a manager here in Arizona, that's where I live now, in Phoenix, Arizona. But he brought in this producer to work with me, and the producer was Matt Good from the band From First to Last. And if you don't know that band, they're like an emo band that used to have Skrillex as the front man. So Skrillex, before he was a DJ, was the front man of this band From First to Last. So the guitarist, Matt Good, was now a producer, and I came in there and I was kind of like, what, this emo guy is gonna make my record? You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a hip hop producer. I was kind of weird about it. But then he started just on the spot, like he would just make beats around things I was like singing or rapping, and I was like, this guy's dope. So I totally underestimated him. And he plays guitar on some of the tracks, he does like backup vocals on some of the tracks. So I think just overall it's a lot of like real instruments, and it kind of, I don't know, makes it a super genuine and in the moment album, because I did Firecracker in like a week. So that's not the ideal situation. Like, I like to have a lot of time to record and think about stuff, but I was touring so often. There was a stretch of years, like 5 or 6 years, that I was touring 10 months out of the year. So when I would make an album, I'd have like a week to do it before I was on to my next thing. And even though it wasn't ideal, it made me just kind of write so in the moment. So it feels like that album's like a screenshot or like a snapshot of just that time. It didn't have, I didn't have time to mull it over and do a lot of tweaks or whatever. It's just like, boom, this is what we're feeling right now. And it has to be, every song's making the album. Basically, I didn't have like 30 songs to choose from and be like, okay, this 10, this is the best. It was like, boom, every song's on the album. And I think for some reason that just really worked, and fans liked that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a realness or rawness to it maybe that shines through that you don't even really realize, but that's by far my favorite project by you. I mean, there's no project I don't like, but Firecracker is head and tails above everything else, just in my opinion. Plus, I've always been a stickler with, I listen to albums as albums, it's kind of changed. People put out singles more, but I'm an album guy. I feel like the album is an experience, like a movie. You wouldn't just watch the first 10 minutes of a movie, but I always feel like an album should start high, right? Because otherwise you're going to lose interest. And then it's kind of like a roller coaster. So I always really pay attention to first songs, and the first song in there is Automatic. And I just fucking love that song. I mean, I've played the shit out of that song. I don't even know if I know why I love that song so much, but so that gets you there, at least to me.
Thank you.
But talk about crafting, kind of like I was explaining,
Mhm.
How much thought do you put into track listing order? How do you look at it, kind of how it should ebb and flow, and this should go with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely harder these days because of the way people consume music. It's unfortunately, there's not a lot of people that do listen from front to back, but I think especially at that time, like Firecracker, it came out in like 2016, 2017. That was like when the tail end of when CDs were just like starting to go out, and it was like the burst of people buying it, and then they were like no longer in stores kind of thing. So I just caught the tail end of it, and Firecracker was distributed in like Best Buy and everything like that. So it was a very successful album for me because the distro, like it was just in every store. And I was able to catch it right at the end of the wave. And
Mhm.
now I don't really like distribute to all these different stores because there's a lot of stores that don't even carry CDs anymore. But I would say that I craft it very similar to how I would craft a live performance. And it's exactly what you said. Like when I do a live show, especially a headlining show where I have a longer set than just
Mhm.
like 15 minutes or something, I have like an hour, I come out really hot like that, like with something like automatic, just to right off the bat get people hype and like show, flex a little skill for a
Mhm.
second. And then I go through, the slower songs, and it's kind of an up and down to keep people interested. And also I have people so involved that like I have people moshing and crowd surfing, and they get so crazy at the shows that I like to give them time to breathe in between. So I do like the ballads so they can kind of like catch their
That's
breath and
cool.
energy. And then like, okay, let's back to being crazy. So I start on a really hype level and then I end on a really hype level. And I kind of form my albums to be the same way.
So a few years after that, you signed to Suburban Noize, obviously
Mhm.
most famous for Cottonmouth Kings. How did that come together? And that situation, that would have been the Alpha album, right? That was on
Yeah.
Suburban Noize. Um, Talk about how they got in touch with you, how that, you guys connected.
Yeah, well, actually, my manager at the time had done some Cottonmouth Kings music videos. Like I had this manager, Zach Yoshioka, who he used to be a videographer prior to being an artist manager, and he did videos for Cottonmouth Kings. So he just knew he had connections with Suburban Noize. They were within the same realm of music that I do, as far as other artists that I've already, performed with and toured
Mhm.
with. I've done things with Mad Child, so we were all just about each other anyway from the
Sure.
internet, and you can see who's popping. But yeah, I signed on to them for the Alpha album. I think we might have approached them. I already had Alpha recorded
Okay.
pretty much. Like it was almost finished, and I was just planning on independently releasing it because I wasn't signed to a label at the time. And then they expressed interest, and it was funny though, because I think I had a certain number of tracks recorded, and in my mind it was enough for an EP. It wasn't enough for an album. So when I was talking to them on the phone, and Kevin Singer's like offering me the deal, he was like, yeah, we think we want to sign you, but we don't want to do an EP, we want to do a full album. Do you have enough tracks for a full album? And I was like, yeah, I got that, no problem, I'll send that over. In my mind I'm like, fuck, I was like, I better go record like 5 more songs. So I already had the song, I got it recorded, and I had a music video recorded for it, but I didn't have like half the tracks. So yeah, now that I'm thinking of it, I had it partially recorded. I was just gonna release an EP, and then I just like lit a fire under myself to finish those other tracks and handed it in like it was already done. I was like, yeah, I already have these. It was so
Funny.
funny. But yeah, then COVID happened. Like we released the album, and then there were plans to tour and everything, and the album came out right at the beginning of 2020.
Mhm.
And then of course, I did a couple shows with Subnoize, SRH Fest. We did like Vegas and New Mexico and Phoenix, and then literally everything shut down. And to me, I was like, wow, that's really gonna ruin momentum from the album, because usually you want to drop an album and then tour. But it still charted. It ended up pushing Subnoize over 2 million like sales total for their label, because it sold like a couple thousand copies,
Mhm.
but it just pushed them over the tipping point of collectively having now 2 million
Sure.
sales. So they sent me a platinum plaque, and it says for 2 million record sales, which is funny because if you just read it, you think that I personally had 2
It's all
million
about- yeah.
sales, but it's for the Sub Noize roster, and it's cool because a picture of Alpha is like on there because it's like the tipping point of the 2 million. So that felt kind of cool. That was a cool little.
That is cool. Talking about Alpha, talk about Alpha House, how you created that.
Yeah.
Kind of give some love to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been signed to a couple different labels now. I've had 2 different record deals, and everything from Firecracker, then Iridescent, and Alpha were all released through labels. And I just think that I was like, hey, I'm really hands-on artist. I do a lot of my own, you know, directing videos, and like I said, I record myself. All Alpha was recorded here at my place in Phoenix. And then, so I was just kind of like, a lot of this I do myself. The more people that touch it, it kind of becomes less you. So I wanted to take it back to my roots of being directly to the people, just from me directly to the people. You know, the labels, they helped in a lot of ways, but then in other ways I was like, hey, I can really do this. I just think that being an indie artist is kind of the way to go right now, especially because, like I said, there's not really albums in stores. A lot of times people were signing to labels to have that distribution of getting in stores, to have, you know, different things that we now have those resources ourselves. Like artists used to not really be able to record themselves that easily. They needed really nice big studios and crazy equipment because it wasn't, things are way more available to you now, and there's tutorials on how to do things, and there's like, you can kind of figure stuff out. So I was like, I just want to be indie, kind of see how that goes. I'm not saying I'd never sign a deal again, but I think it just would have to, yeah, it would just have to be a certain deal that I really, really, really liked, because I'm I'm just able to do a lot of things myself.
Yeah, the game's really changed from, you know, 20 years ago, even probably 10 years ago. So you've got to work with a bunch of artists, different artists. Who are your favorite 1 or 2 people that you've gotten to collab with?
R.A. the Rugged Man.
Very, he needs more respect. He's crazy, but he's dope.
Oh yeah, but he's like my crazy uncle. R.A. was the first person I ever toured with. He was my first national tour, and then right after that was the 3-6 Mafia tour. But he is so nice, you know, when he likes you, he will do a lot for you. So he seems like this crazy off the wall guy, which he definitely is, but he shaped my performance style for sure. Like we might be way different kinds of rappers and make different kinds of music, but his crowd interaction really like helped me. I learned from the best. Like my first 2 tours, RA and then 3-6, I had to watch artists that were like the OGs, really respected, were amazing performers, and I had to share a stage with them and prove why I'm there. Like I opened for them, I had to prove why I'm good enough to do that. So every night I felt challenged, like, man, I better live up to this, or like take advantage of the fact that I'm in front of this big audience every night and like be as good as them, you know? So I just really watched their performance style. And, you know, artists like Ritz, like he's super nice too. So it's not just about them being good rappers. I mean, Ritz is a super awesome guy. RA is a super awesome guy. So you remember that too. I built real relationships with these people, and I was, you know, on the road with them for months, seeing them constantly 24/7, you know what I mean? So you kind of feel like you really went through something, and a lot of ups and downs, because the road is crazy. And so I think, yeah, those artists really paved the way for me. I would say Ritz and RA are like my top.
So speaking of shows, do you have 1 or I'm sure you have them, but 1 or 2 crazy show stories? I like to hear the crazy banana things that happen at shows, because it happens to every artist. What comes to mind?
Yeah, I got tear gassed with 3-6 Mafia in Denver. We were playing in Denver, Colorado, and when I played with them, I really was thrown into the fire because their fans are so nuts in like the best way possible.
Sure.
They go ham. Like every night when they would leave, there would be like on the floor, it would just be like beer cans, blood and a shoe. At least you'd find at least a
One
couple
shoe.
shoes, you know what I'm saying? So that was the debris when they, people would leave. But I remember in Denver, there was like a mosh pit, and there was some sort of fight going on in the mosh pit, and security could not get to the center because there were a lot of people at this show, and they just could not get through the crowd. And it just started getting way too out of hand where they couldn't, like, so many people broke into a fight, and 3-6 was trying to calm it down. But the thing that's hilarious about that is they'd be like, okay, everyone, stop fighting. And then their next song would be, hit a motherfucker, or like, tear the club up. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, you can't in between just be like, okay, peace and love, everybody, hit a motherfucker. So
That's funny.
it was just so funny. But yeah, so eventually they had to call in like police, and they looked like a SWAT team. Like, they were dressed fully booted up, and all I see is just like, it was smoke just like rainbow into the middle of the mosh pit. So they didn't even try at that point to get through all the people. They just threw the tear gas or whatever it was, canister, like right into the middle of the dance floor. And then of course it's all rising, so it just shut down the whole show because now the whole room is just fucked up. And we're leaving the stage just coughing, because I would go on stage with them for like some of their last songs just to like jump around and hype up the crowd. And we were on like one of the last songs, but we just started coughing and feeling like we were gonna throw up, and just like exited. But I was like, man, we just got tear gas. That's the 3-6 concert. What is my life?
That's funny. In my research, when I saw the Grammy thing, I also saw that you did some acting here and there.
Yeah.
Was that something that you were wanting to do more of, and you just kind of, music worked out more? Or was it just something that kind of happened and you just kind of lost, I don't want to say interest, but you just focused on the music?
It's something that I would still pursue now. I think I really enjoy it. It's just another aspect of the industry to me in entertainment. And I really look up to artists that can cross over, like Will Smith, Ludacris, different artists who have been in films, even someone like The Rock, who's very versatile, being a wrestler and then going into film. I mean, but it was something at first that I was doing just as a way to get more like my foot into the industry, because I was like, okay, like I'll go do different movies, I'll make different connections, and maybe I could get paid doing this. And I'd do like 12 hours of work, show up on set and be there forever, and then get like $50 or $80, you know what I mean? So it wasn't anything where I was being paid crazy, but I was networking a lot. And I think it definitely helped me as an entertainer. And I have done a movie recently, Retaliators, which has like Tommy Lee, Five Finger Death Punch. There's a lot of like rock artists in there. There's a guy from like Game of Thrones is in there. And that's been at a lot of film festivals, but I believe it's going to hit Netflix this year. And we filmed it before COVID, but COVID really pushed back all the post-production, but it's something that I would do more. It's just that I started touring and I just couldn't, commit to doing movies because of course music is my first and foremost. But maybe I'll be like Eve, where once she like retired rapping, she's now in all these movies.
You just dropped a new video. I watched it yesterday. Very, just gonna come off bad, but very artsy fartsy in a good way. It's what I call very artsy. I was trying to think of a more polite way to say it, but all I could think of was artsy fartsy. So, but don't take it. You have an overall image, but then I think you're very versatile, because a song like that, the artsy one, but then you'll have another song that'll be more like strictly hip hop. Is the idea to, kind of hit different things? Because there's some artists where song 2 will sound like song 4, which a song will sound like song 5, 8, and 9. It's
I don't want every song to sound the same. I definitely don't want to be, I think that's boring. I think too, being, especially in hip hop, I think everything, like how often do you hear being real like stressed in hip hop? It's like, oh, be real, be this and that. Yeah, but also this is entertainment. So I do think you should be characters at sometimes. Like, I think you can be real and be genuine, but also still be theatrical. Like, I don't think, dressing up crazy or doing something like that is hurting my branding, because I've always been known to be a versatile artist. So I just think, yeah, I don't want people to be watching the same video over and over, the same song over and over, and it be like a cookie cutter thing. And then I do realize, though, there are some of my fans who only like when I like really, really rap and I rap fast, or there's people who only like my slower ballads, or only like my parody songs, because I have a lot of songs that are just quirky and funny too, where I'm not being serious at all. And some people only like when I do that. So I do know that it's split a little bit, but overall, I don't want to be putting out the same thing. That just sounds so boring to me.
So now the second part of my interviews are what the podcast has kind of been becoming known as, and it's my general hip hop questions. So we're just going to talk some hip hop shop.
Okay.
If you could only listen to one MC's catalog for the rest of your life, who would that artist be?
Probably Eminem.
It's not a bad pick. Plus, he's got a pretty decent sized catalog.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there's another artist who I don't think has written the same song over and over. He's switched it up.
So you're getting thrown on an island. You can only bring 5 albums with you. What are those albums?
Ooh. So let's see. Tech 9 Killer, I think, is a really good album front to back.
That's got my favorite Tech 9 song, which is One More Time. Oh, the one about not being able to cry. That's on Killer. Yeah, it's on Killer.
Yeah. I had to remember. I'm like, he's had such a big catalog too. Right. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember certain album names. Yeah. Let's see. Eve, what was the one album? Scorpion, I think it was.
Scorpion was the second one.
Yeah, and I think that was like her kind of breakthrough. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no, that had the song with Gwen Stefani that was real big.
Dude,
blow your mind. That's what it was called.
And I love Gwen Stefani too, growing up, because her style was just urban and rock. So talking about embodying both. Let's see. So with M, what's his best? Man, the Slim Shady LP probably.
And no one ever picks that, and that's my favorite version of him, because it was so real and raw. He was still,
that was the storyteller. That was the storyteller.
Such a great album.
I think that one would probably be the one. I'd probably take. It's all M CDs that I'm taking. I also think Joyner Lucas is pretty good. He had that ADHD record, and I thought that was pretty amazing. What am I at? 4? 4. Yeah. I'd have to, like, Missy Elliott, Under Construction. I remember having that record too. So that was definitely an influential. And it's a toss-up, because that D12 record was really good, in my opinion, too.
Yeah, The Devil's Night, the first one? Are you talking about D12 World? Second one is D12 World.
Yeah, where it's grabbing the earth. Yeah. I remember hearing that as a kid, and some of the things they were saying, I was like, whoa, like, especially bizarre how he will go off and say some crazy shit when you're like a little kid listening to it. You're like, holy shit, I'm probably not allowed to listen to this. This is nuts. Yeah, so that would probably be my pick.
So you can bring one rapper back from the dead who's passed away to do a song with. Who are you bringing back for that one track?
Ooh, one rapper back from the dead. Man, I'd probably bring back 3-6 Mafia, because there's a couple members that unfortunately, passed away. I remember Scarecrow had passed away like right before we went on tour. So that would definitely be like a cool one to be able to bring back. But let me see. I don't know. At this point, I might have to pull something really unorthodox and bring back someone like Lil Peep.
Wow.
And just confuse everybody, because I think that would make such a crazy song. So I don't know, I might do that. Let's throw everyone for a loop.
There you go. So now we're gonna play This or That.
The choice is yours. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that.
I'm gonna give you 2 options. Well, in some cases 3, and you got to pick what you think is the better option. So we're starting with albums. Whitney Peyton, Firecracker, Iridescent, or Alpha?
Man, I would probably say Alpha just because it was the first one I engineered myself. So that's why it's close to
A
me.
bit more meaning. How about
Yeah.
Dr. Dre's The Chronic or Snoop Dogg Doggy Style?
I think Snoop Dogg Doggy Style.
I have down Eve, Rough Riders First Lady, or Scorpion.
Scorpion. Yeah. Wow. Okay. You're good.
Yeah,
With
I
the E
try.
question.
I try. DMX. I got It's Dark and Hell is Hot. First one. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, the second one. Or Then There Was X, which was his third one.
Party Up and all that, where that was all his debut.
No, Party Up was on the third album. And
On
then
the
there was
third?
X. Yeah.
Sheesh, what year was this?
So the first one was 98, I believe. That had like
Okay.
Get At Me Dog was the single off that first one.
That's pretty interesting to me, though, that it's on his third album.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing because a lot of people's like best work is their first album generally. So
Mhm.
that's pretty cool that that's his third album. Yeah, I would go with his third album for sure.
So now I'm just going to give you two artists and you pick the one. The Game or Kendrick Lamar?
Hey, well, I have a song out with The Game. I don't know if you heard it, but
No,
it's called
that's
On
cool.
My Way to PHX, and it has The Game on it because there's this artist that lives in Phoenix, Willie North Pole, that was like a member of G Unit right before they broke up, and he's friends with The Game, and he lives here, and he's on the song, and he got Game on the song. So that's going to be on my next record. But yeah, I'm have to go with Game.
Speaking of Kendrick Lamar, what'd you think of the Super Bowl halftime show?
Dude, that was the most iconic show ever. The pan down to reveal 50 Cent, I lost it. I lost
going back
it.
and watched it on YouTube probably, I don't know, 8 times. And it's still, I mean, as a
Missy
hip
was
hop
there.
head, it was beautiful to see.
I wish Missy was there. There's of course a lot of artists that I was like, oh,
Sure.
they should have been there. They should have been there too. But it was
Can only have
overall
so
great.
many. I guess I know the answer to this one too. This is weird that you've brought up these things and now I had these in my script. I have Bone Thugs and Harmony or 3 6 Mafia.
I like both. I actually have a song that's like in the vault. It used to be really out, but it's been removed from platforms because right now I just took down a lot of my old catalog. I'll probably re-release it in the future. But I have a song with Layzie Bone from Bone Thugs, and from way back in the day. Basically, when I was out at the Grammys that you're talking about earlier, I like ran into Layzie Bone at a studio that I was at recording, and it was like the day after the Grammys, and he had heard, oh, she was, this girl was just on an album that won a Grammy. So I was like, hey, will you jump on this track with me? And he was like, yeah. So awesome. I have a song with them. But yeah, I mean 3-6 because I went on tour with them, but I do have love for Layzie Bone.
The old classic everyone asks, Tupac or Biggie?
I probably have to go with Tupac just because I grew up with the more East Coast style of rap, and I feel like there's a lot that he like. Originally Pac is from New York too, right?
Yeah, Baltimore.
And
he might have been born in New York, but I know he spent a lot of time in Baltimore before. Then
and I know he repped the West and everything, but I think there is a lot about his rap style aside from the beats like that. I don't know. I just related to him, I think, a little bit more, to be honest, his style. And he's another artist that like I would watch in movies like Poetic Justice and things like that. So I think he was definitely, I know it's very East Coast versus West Coast when you say it. So people are surprised when when I'm like, hey, I rep this, but hey, isn't he from there too?
He is. Actually, fun fact is his first rap name was MC New York, which is ironic as hell considering
he was very West Coast, California love.
His first rap name was MC New York.
I didn't know that. You just dropped knowledge on me.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're old. You got useless facts, especially when you're a hip hop head. You have useless hip hop facts.
Didn't he go to school or college in New York?
Or yeah, actually he did. He went to college. It might have been NYU, but it was in New York. And that he went to school with Jada Pinkett Smith now, and they were friends from being in college together. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Classic gangster rap groups, Ghetto Boys or NWA?
NWA for sure.
The newer version of the Tupac and Biggie kinda, Jay-Z or Nas?
Ooh, well, because Jay-Z was one of my first hip hop songs I remember
Yeah,
with Hard
that's
Knock
right.
Life. I'll
That's
have to
right.
go with Jay-Z. See, you like
This is
foresaw
bananas.
this.
Yeah,
See
it's
this.
crazy. 80s or 90s hip hop?
Well, 90s was, 80s was a little before my time to be into it. So more 90s I'm familiar with. 90s hip hop.
What about being known as the dopest lyricist or selling 2 million records independently? So think of the money you make independently. How
Or
bad?
being known, but you're not known as being a dope lyricist.
You're average at best, but you sold. Like most people sell 2 million records, you're average.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the money, but the money's not like, I don't know. That's a hard one. I feel like if I cared more about that I would have already just popped off by like just dressing a certain way and act a certain way and have people write my songs or something. So I would say that I've already chosen to be a lyricist over the money.
True. All right. Classic hood movies, West Coast version. Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society?
I thought you were gonna say Poetic Justice, which is not a hood movie.
No.
Boys in the Hood.
Well,
Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. And now the East Coast version, which is Juice or New Jack Hustler. Speaking of Tupac, Juice.
Juice. Yeah. I thought you were gonna, where's Friday? Where does that fit in? Just comedies.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call that a hood movie. I think, but they are obviously in the hood. That's a good, maybe I'll have to start offering that as an option.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a curveball and say Friday.
Boys in the Hood or Friday.
It is kind of weird.
Yeah. All right, my last part, I'm going to give you an artist name and just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. It doesn't have to be one word. Just what do you think of when you hear this person's name?
Okay.
Queen Latifah.
Ooh, just boss lady. I feel like she's just a boss.
You talked about him, Tech Nine.
Independent powerhouse.
What about Potluck?
Humboldt. I just think of Humboldt County and weed.
Weed. Lots of weed. You talked about her too, Missy Elliott.
All I think of with Missy Elliott is the bizarre music videos, and I love it.
With the trash bag, those first
crazy visuals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see Missy behind you. And the next guy.
Oh yeah, see, I got some of the greats.
Yeah,
I got
no
Gwen
doubt.
over there.
Yeah, Cube.
And
the next.
Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will.
The next one's on there. I have Eminem.
What do I think? I mean, versatility, because he's someone who can battle, he can write songs, he can do parodies, but then also serious music. So I just think overall artist, that guy.
Harry the Rugged Man. I'll show you the script. They're written down. It's crazy.
You're my reader, dude. All right, is just, he can't be tamed. he's off the wall, but he has a great heart. So, I mean, yeah, just wild.
Next, I have Gina Fritz.
Gina Fritz, very talented. I mean, she's an amazing singer. She's super nice, which you wouldn't know, like, unless you, I guess, meet her. You probably can't tell from social media someone's personality, but she is just like the nicest person, has never said anything bad about anybody. I'm like, you need to get harder to be in this game. She's hilarious.
What about Foxy Brown?
Sultry. She's the more sultry queen.
How about DJ Quick?
DJ Quick. Oh yeah, I had to, man, you're throwing some old school. I think of just like real hip hop, legit.
DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Yeah, same thing. That's like the culture. I guess I think of more of like people who paved the way and like just genuine and legit.
How about Jelly Roll?
Jelly Roll. He's super nice too. I would say he's genuine. He's just very himself and unapologetic.
What about the Insane Clown Posse?
They're off the wall as well. Theatrical, because they built a whole empire and you have to really give it to them, and they put on a show, and they like everything that they do is like theater, and just I just like the makeup, the stage props, the everything, very theatrical.
You know, people can say what they want about the actual music, but I mean, you have to respect what they built. I would love to know how much money they've made in merchandise in the last 30 years. I mean, you got to respect it. You don't have to like the music, but you almost have to respect what they build.
I like that, like, you know, it's admirable that if they're rejected from a lot of different labels or get dropped or whatever, they're just like, okay, we're just going to make our own entire movement. And that was at a time where it wasn't as easy to be independent, and they completely just did it. So that's, you asked me earlier why I started a label. It's like, well, because I'm hands-on and I do a lot of stuff myself, and they're like the kings of that.
My favorite rapper of all time, so he makes the list almost every interview, Ice-T.
Oh, I love Ice-T. Okay. Do you like him in SVU?
Well, yeah, I'm a hardcore. I have 3 different Ice-T tattoos. I mean, I'm a real fan.
Then do you know, like, someone that I've met a couple times, and he made like a cameo in one of my music videos. Ice-T attributed a lot of his inspiration
Schoolie D?
coming from Schoolie D from Philly.
Yeah.
Who a lot of people don't really know about, you know. And I remember meeting Schoolie D and hanging out with him, and I was just like, wow, this is someone that Ice-T like credits for a lot of his inspiration. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Schoolie D is a legend, but he doesn't get talked about enough. He's kind of forgotten.
Yeah, he's kind of like an RA, the Rugged Man, in a way, where he's like a legend in his own right.
Cottonmouth Kings.
Just chaos. They I've toured with them, and they have one of the best stage shows I've ever seen, because they have such good stage presence. I thought it wasn't going to work, because I was like, man, there's so many people on stage. How is this going to work? But for some reason, they're so just used to performing with each other, 20 years of it, I guess, that it just works out. It's like organized chaos. And I'm like, well, this is awesome. So that's what I think of.
Next, I got Lil Debbie.
Oh, she's a genuine ass person. She's actually one of my favorite people too. I toured with her, and she is the most honest person, but so nice. So yeah, I would say genuine for her.
My guest for the one that dropped this morning, Spice One.
Spice One, you're naming a lot of cool people that I know and I've like worked with, so that's cool. He's really cool too. He makes up words, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's mad cool.
He just starts making shit up, like, so I love it, because he has his own style. You know when it's him. He is one of those people that has a distinct voice that you're like, oh, that's Spice One.
Yeah. Sure. MGK, Machine Gun Kelly.
Punk rock. I mean, before he did rock music, he performed like he was doing punk rock. Like, I like his performance style a lot.
I've never seen him live, so even when he was doing hip hop, he presented more like a rock guy, you would say. His stage
I
show.
love that. Yeah, because I mean, I've modeled myself after stuff like that, because I want, like, when I'm performing, if you watched it on mute, I want you to like have no idea what genre I'm doing. Be like, what the, you know? I want it to be like you can't tell. And he just had such like a rock stage presence, and the moshing and the crowd surfing and stuff. I think, you know, I like that. I like that. So yeah, just punk rock.
A couple more. Cryptic Wisdom.
Cryptic. He's very moody. He has the very like dark. Yeah. Another artist I worked with a lot. He has just a very melodic and dark style.
How about Jadakiss from the Locks?
Jada. Yeah, let me think. Jada has a lot of hits, man. I mean, I think he really paved the way for a lot of people too. But I think of, just catchy. He has catchy songs.
And finally, The Roots.
The Roots from Philly.
Yeah, I try to get Philly people in there.
Pure talent. I think, you know, a band, when they do instrumentals, I think, it's just almost a lost thing. Like, everyone just kind of raps the tracks now, and they have like the whole, they embody what it is to be live artists. So they're pretty awesome.
So talented. So talented. All right. Do you have any pluggables to plug? Where can people get at you?
Pluggables?
Pluggables to plug, yeah.
All right. Well, I want everyone to check out that new artsy fartsy music video over and over on YouTube. Tell me what you think about it. If you love it, if you hate it, go ahead, drop a line. But I do think it's a timeless ballad that people can listen to in the future, and then also Give It Gas. Those are my 2 leading singles that will be on my new upcoming album, and my first time dropping an album under my own label, Alpha House. So look out for that, because I'm going to be doing an album cover and name reveal coming up and dropping that in the spring. So there's going to be shows and things to follow that. So yeah, just look out for it.
Yeah, I'll definitely be checking it out.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. It means a lot. I'm a true fan of your music. That's why I contacted you. So I appreciate you, taking an hour out of your busy schedule to talk to me and call your things artsy fartsy. So.
No, I appreciate you. You dropped some knowledge on me, because there's a lot of artists, that were either before my time or like when I was super, super young, that it made me just remember some of these albums and be like, oh yeah, this really did influence me more than I even thought. So thanks for bringing all those memories up.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. All right. Have a great night. Keep doing what you're doing. Peace.
You too. I love it.
All right. See ya.
This is Jimmy Jim, the guy with 2 last names of the first name. I'm here to talk to you all about the new sale we got going on this year. It's 20% off all Ford vehicles at Peyton Ford. We got automatic windows, automatic brakes, automatic seats, automatic everything. Oh, we got you, bitch, we got you.
I see, I gotta have it. Don't play no games, y'all too dramatic. Yo, get this, ain't built with the stick shift. These flows be automatic. 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 They know I'm cold, they mind be blown, because these flows be automatic. Don't ever question my freshness. I use my mic as a weapon. You'll never see me come second. My flow is automatic. No way accepting rejection. I keep infecting these records, so second nature. No whether my skill is automatic. Make way for the crazy broad. When I lay these bars, I black out. At first my verse was a gateway drug, but Whitney's back with the crack now. They all got beef with the cash cow. When I step in the room, they back out. You think I owned 1,000 whips with the way y'all make me wanna lash out? That's too dramatic, I'm rude about it. I'm through the roof and I'm through the attic. I got a lot of folks who don't like me, but there ain't that much they can do about it. Been A1 since day one. I'm a VIP, you ain't one. I don't need no lane, I made one. Now I buzz just like I stay drunk. My gosh, okay. Stay out my way, I got this nitrous, and I might just leave you stuck in the dust to stay away. I paved the way, I saved the day. They slept on me, but I stayed awake with the flow that cuts like razor blades. Now I'm up inside this 808. I see, I gotta have it. Don't play no games, y'all too dramatic. Yo, get this, ain't built with the stick shift. These flows be automatic. 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 They know I'm cold, they mind be blown, because these flows be automatic. Don't ever question my freshness. I use my mic as a weapon. You'll never see me come second. My flow is automatic. No way accepting rejection. I keep infecting these records, so second nature. No whether my skill is automatic. Overdrive when I ride, make sure my whip and my clothes all coincide. Yeah, the bump in my trunk sounds so divine. Don't go against me, cause you won't survive. That room, zoom, with the window tint like who's you? Gotta film this shit for YouTube fans, they stay around me like a tutu. Yo, that's alright, I'm R-rated. Make you choke like Darth Vader. I don't smoke, that's so last year. Take a look in my lungs, it's all vapor. Look at my friends, we all major. Look at my team, we all players. Don't know about you, but I know about me. I bring these beats in all flavors. My rhymes are sorta graphic. That's cause everybody's fucking with them. Pornographic. Anytime the people come around and they start asking, who's the one that's making moves? The answer's automatic. I see, I gotta have it. Don't play no games, y'all too dramatic. Yo, get this, ain't built with the stick shift. These flows be automatic. 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 They know I'm cold, they mind be blown, because these flows be automatic. Don't ever question my friend.